in a way, it's interesting. To me, it's almost phenomenal. This goes back to 1995. And probably actually started kind of toward the end of 1994, where the church acquired a piece of property in Walnut Creek. And it was a house, and it was needed to be converted. So two things kind of occurred within me. There was a strong feeling, almost a compulsion, to work on that building. I mean, really work on it, not just a Saturday here or there, but daily over a period of time. Number two, there was this weird feeling in me that I wasn't going to be around much longer, that somehow I was going to die. It's just weird, you know. It's almost impossible to describe how these feelings are in you. So anyway, I said, okay, this is something I have to do. It's probably going to be my last hurrah, the last thing I really do for the Lord. So anyway, I thought about it, and I said, well, how can I do this? And I approached our bishop, and I said to him, I have this compulsion to do this. I says, there's various options I have. I can quit my job and put into it and do that, and then whatever happens after happens. Or I can try to put in for a leave of absence. I think I had another option. I don't remember what that was. But anyway, he said, don't quit your job. I said, okay. So I went to my boss, and I said, here's what I want to do. I want to take off time. I have some vacation. I want to use my vacation and then take additional time off to work on this church building, to convert it. And he listened to me, and he's not a Christian. Sundays he plays golf, and I didn't know how he would react to it. But he was totally receptive to it. I was surprised how receptive he was and how supportive he was to me. And so we went to Human Resources. He went to them, talked to them about it. They said, oh, we can't do this. This is not company policy. You can't do it. And he said to him, he says, this is what I want, period. So they agreed to it. So anyway, I was taking like maybe 3 or 4 weeks vacation, and then I was going to take 2 months unpaid leave. So my wife says, let's prepare for this. Let's start setting some money aside to cover our expenses during this period of time. So I said, okay, so we did. We put together something like $3,000, I think it was, to kind of try to cover through that period of time. So anyway, I took, and then it was with my boss to determine how we would cover for me and when it would happen. And we kind of said, okay, it looks like it's going to be around this time, around the 1st of May, I think it was. And at that moment of time, there was a contract worker that he knew that was coming available. So he could come in and fill in for me. And it was right about that time that we felt the building permit would be granted. You know, everything was starting to fall into place. You know, it's the hand of God. So I took the time off. I started working on it. I worked on it for that whole period of time. And then I went back to work. We still weren't done with it because every wall in that building had to be taken down and rebuilt. And the floor had to be leveled up because it was, you know, not good. So anyway, later, then it was evenings for some and on Saturdays. And So we were working over there on a Saturday, October 14th. And I started not feeling good. And I would kind of sit down a little bit and rest and get up and do more. And it got to be close to noon, and I just said, I am not feeling good at all. I don't like this at all. So I asked one of the priests there, who I knew very well, I says, would you drive me over to the hospital? I don't feel good. I don't know what's going on here. So he drove me over there. They took me in the ER, hooked me up with the EKG stuff, and the nurse comes over and starts hooking up an IV and says, this is standard procedure. And I'm going, yeah, right, this is standard when you're got a problem. So anyway, while I was in the ER there, I actually experienced a heart attack. And a little bit later, I don't know if it was that day or the next day, one of the doctors told me, he says, I believe we aborted a major, possibly fatal heart attack. It was a clot. Aborted. Well, anyway, that Saturday, after they took me up to ICU, I'm laying there and I'm thinking, I do all this work for the Lord, and this is what I get, a heart attack. The next day, on Sunday, I looked at it a little differently. I thought about what the doctor told me, and I said, gee, I do all this work for the Lord, and this is what I get. He's extending my life. What a difference a day makes in what our attitude can be. And so then I recovered, and then later, somewhere in that time, I asked my wife, I said, how are we doing financially? She said, she's wait until this is all over with. So anyway, when we were all over it, everything was kind of done and said. And I think even with the time I was off with the heart attack and everything, I said, how did we come out? She said, you know what? We never touched a dime of that money that we saved. And I just was marveled over that. And here it is, like almost 17 years later, I've had 17 years of grace, of added life, with pretty much complete health. And I'm still able to do things physically. And my rector, every now and then, he says, you see that there? I said, yeah. He says, you think you could do something about that? I said, sure. And it gets done. So that's kind of the story, and there's so many points in it that just show God's hand in my life with that. And it's not just that. I was saying to somebody this morning, going back, way back to even my days of confirmation, I can take like a ribbon of the hand of God and weave it through my life with circumstances and incidents that I could say I could write a book about. Just how blessed the Lord's been to me over the years.